Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Beth, and I just finished reading The Snowman by Jo Nesbo. This book was published in 2007, and this edition was translated from Norwegian to English by Don Bartlett. So, this book's about 500 pages long, but it is a very quick read, as most other of his novels are. This is actually a book in the Harry Hole series. Harry Hole is an inspector that, plays the main character in the series. So this specific book does actually have a film called The Snowman that came out in 2017 starring Michael Fassbender, but it was not well received. I have not seen the film, so I cannot judge it based off of the book. What I can say, though, is this book is a slow burn, and if you haven't read the other Harry Hole books, like myself, I don't think the very end will have as much meaning as it should. I just know there are certain characters and character connections that were kind of lost upon me. I felt that if I had probably read the other books, I would understand the meaning. There was actually a very powerful point in the novel near the end. I teared up, almost cried, did not. But that was a relationship completely confined to this book. So I will say this, perhaps if you've read the other Harry Hole Inspector books, you should definitely read this one because it is fantastic. It just took me, I think, a bit longer to get into it just because I was missing these key bits of character information, and I love character-driven books and plots. The pace, like I said earlier, it's very fast-paced because it is a thriller novel, and so it keeps you on the edge of the seat. I would say this, the beginning of the novel is fantastic. The very first chapter, the introduction, really just grips you and makes you want to read it, but then it slows down a bit, and I will say this, my attention waned for a little while. And as soon as all the parts started coming together, that's when my passion kind of reignited for reading for this specific novel. I will say this, I think it's not my favorite Jo Nesbo book. I've actually only read one other book of his, and it's called The Sun, obviously by Jo Nesbo. And I do think it's superior, but perhaps that's because it's a standalone novel, and I felt more connected to the characters. So, what I will say is that the whole story is basically following Harry Hole, the inspector, and he is investigating a set of murders. And apparently, in previous novels, he was known for catching a serial killer because he has had training at the FBI in America. And so he has basically seen serial killers everywhere, and so he's lost credibility. And he's seeing this string of murders that he knows are related to one another. And he's been personally marked to pursue this case because he's gotten a letter from the Snowman, the serial killer. So he's trying to pursue this and finally gets granted the case as a serial killer investigation, but it's all behind wraps. I would say that the political side of the novel is heavily present. You really get to understand how the press and the police work together and what is needed to save face during these times of crisis, and how the people can't lose faith with their police force. So I do think that it's kind of funny how many times the police blunder this case. There's so many fake outs in this novel, which maybe that's why I didn't enjoy this one as much as The Sun, because you think, oh, this is a serial killer. No, this is a serial killer. No, this is a serial killer. And then you finally figure out who the real serial killer is. And then it gets invigorating. But before then, I think to myself, well, can I even trust you at this point? You've given me so many fake outs. Um, and I do think that the writing style in this book is very simple, but it definitely gets this point across. It feels very procedural, almost like it was written by a cop. But I think that that's definitely part of the fun, and I haven't personally read, I think, a lot of thrillers in the recent years, because I used to love political intrigues and thriller novels. So it was kind of a cool return to form and seeing how writers pursue this kind of story. But I do believe that if you do stick it out to the end, you are highly rewarded. Because personally, I didn't think I would enjoy the end as much as I did. I think that the middle really, it has to exist, or else the end, there's no payoff at the end. But at the same time, there are certain unanswered questions even at the very ending scene that I thought to myself, is this for the next novel, or am I missing something? So I will say that. But if you're looking for something to read, you like the series of books, please read this book. If you've never read this series before in your life, like myself, don't pursue it unless you want to read the other books. I think that it's well written. I think that if I'd started the series, I would definitely have enjoyed it more. But at this moment in time, if you're going to read a Jo Nesbo book, please read The Sun. It is fantastic and also fast-paced. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good one.